What's up, everyone? Michael Manatskanian here, and I am stoked to give you guys some more value as much as I possibly can. As a quick reminder, I was able to become financially free through real estate investing. Thankfully, all before I turned 30. I'm not going to act like it was easy. It wasn't intentional. I didn't come from like a wealthy family. Quite honestly, the opposite. And so I'm always forever grateful for the life I get to live now because of my intentional learning and actions that have got me here. So what I do now is I spend a few hours a week trying to help other people do the exact same thing while I continue building my portfolio, but most importantly, spending my life doing the things I actually enjoy. Hanging out with my family, eating great foods, traveling, all that other stuff, while also building awesome projects that I care about, and then not having to work because, I'm forced to financially. So with all that being said, I'm here to help you guys on your own investing journeys as well. This is why I created so many free and valuable resources for you all, including my free community called the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap. So we have the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community that you guys can get access to. I have a free 3-day co-living challenge that you guys can all be part of. I have free tools and resources to help you out on your investing journey. I'm going to provide you guys an awesome masterclass on my favorite investment strategy, which is buying properties for the co-living management strategy, and go into why I like it, why it's so much better than other strategies, especially today, right? Like things can adjust, things pivot, but right now it makes a ton of sense. And what looks like for the foreseeable future, it's kind of the core strategy. And I'll really explain to you guys the advantage that I can provide is I'm an engineer by trade. So it's more step-by-step, numbers driven. If you like that, you'll like this. If you want storytelling and all that, that's not really what I'm best at. I'm not here to cause you to get emotional or tell stories. And I'm here to just help you have a clear understanding of what you should be working on and then do it and help you get there as quickly as possible. My goal is if I can impact you and your family's financial trajectory any way that I can, just even slightly, that's a win for me. And it makes my couple hours of work doing this a week very well worthwhile. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. I want to start off by saying that, we're going to do a Q&A after all this. So I'm going to keep the education piece pretty brief. We're going to do it for maybe 20 minutes. And I'm going to get you all access to the, you guys have longer videos on this exact topic in my free community, access to the challenge. And I want to answer you guys' questions because a lot of you guys are not completely brand new into investing. A lot of you guys are already investing in real estate, investing like education, mentorship, courses, whatever. A lot of you guys already have real estate or you're part of the real estate space. What I want to do is make sure that I help you guys take it to the next level, take the next step, the things that I wish others could have done for me. It doesn't exist, so I try to do it for as many of you guys as I can. My friend Jeffrey, I appreciate you, brother. This is literally the reason why I do all this. Hey, how are you? Been learning so much from your content. I appreciate that. Honestly, I appreciate that very much because that's why I do all this. If I can just have a slight impact on a ton of people's financial trajectory, that's awesome. My goal is to put my information out there as much as possible. And I understand the reality. Unfortunately, a lot of people will listen, right? They'll listen, they'll consume, but they won't actually take the action necessary to take action. I am here to either kick you in the butt so that you take action, or a lot of times people want to take action. They're just taking all the wrong actions. They don't know what they should be focused on, what they should be working on, which is what I'm trying to do is help you guys clearly understand what should your investment strategy be? What should your buy box look like for that investment strategy? How do you find those properties? How do you analyze those properties? What's the property actions blueprint look like? If you're going to renovate, you're going to furnish, whatever you're going to do, what does that process look like so you can actually execute? So, oh, awesome. All right. Our Irlene, I believe is how you say it, joined the community and got access today. That is awesome. Awesome. All right. So real fast for anyone who's not aware, here is the link to join the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. Although I am primarily a real estate buyer, right? I primarily speak to people who already have some real estate investment experience or have capital available to invest in deals. I can help people in any phase of your real estate investing journey. If you're focused on active income, you're not making enough money right now to start buying real estate, I don't recommend that you buy real estate. I recommend that you focus on developing your skills and increasing your income, right? Whether it's through real estate or other means, so that you can pay down debts that are high interest, build some emergency savings, and then go into real estate investing the right, safer way with a nice financial foundation. If you are someone who says, hey, I love the idea of real estate, but I want to be more passive, how can I passively invest in real estate? How can I partner with people so that I can either co-own or get interest rate return on my money? Great. I'm here to help you guys as well. Although the main people that I help are those that are looking to buy and hold real estate. I think it's all part of the same vein. And I have a training coming out in the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. That's why the name is that. Like, the goal is freedom, building a financial free portfolio so that you can actually be free, right? Financial freedom means that you have more money coming in each and every month than you are spending every single month. If you have that coming in and you're no longer trading time for money, you are financially free. That is the biggest cheat code in life. Most of the people that achieve financial freedom are born into it. Like, that's a fact. The next bucket, they make a ton of money because of one event, right? They bought Bitcoin early on, or they sold a company, right? But the vast majority of us have to learn to earn money, save it, invest it, and then you could do what I did to really accelerate my journey, which is super invest, right? Instead of just earning and saving and investing my own money, you can learn the skill sets of raising capital to be able to build your portfolio more quickly, more properties, because it's no longer dependent on your personal income, your personal financial situation. So that being said, let's get right into the co-living. Let me screen share for a second. And if anyone has questions they want to be brought up live during this, let me know. Drop it in the comment. I'll make sure to pull you up when we get into the Q&A section. Otherwise, I'll just answer your questions as they come in the comments. I see some really great questions already, so I'm excited to answer those ones later. All right, so real briefly, for anyone that is not familiar with the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community, there are tons of free trainings, tools, and resources in there for you. Understanding your financial freedom blueprint, right? Where are you currently at? What are you trying to get to? What's that journey look like? How does real estate play a role? How to find and analyze real estate investments, and how does that directly translate to financial freedom? If you need to learn how to develop the skills of finding great deals and earn money at the same time, that's what bird dogging is. If you want to understand the fundamentals of co-living, I have the free co-living beginner's guide. And quite honestly, for a lot of you guys, if you're not part of my co-living freedom community, it is the best, lowest cost co-living education there is out there, right? And this is what it would look like for you. If you ever want to upgrade into that, you can upgrade into that. You can just join and upgrade right away, get access to everything. It's literally your step-by-step guide to co-living investing. I'll also be talking about co-living and doing a free 3-day challenge coming up all about co-living investing. I want to help you guys get started or take it to the next level, regardless of where you're at in your co-living investing journey. That is coming up. I want to drop the link for you guys to sign up for the wait list. In here as well, what you'll notice is that, so this is how you can sign up for that free 3-day challenge. What you'll see throughout here, there's tons of tools and resources like the real estate investment calculator, which is specialized for traditional cash and creative deals. It's also allows you to underwrite and analyze co-living investments, long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, short-term rentals, all that good stuff. You could do it right then and there. For the challenge, this is what you'll see right now, right? It's a wait list, but in reality, we kind of got the page going. It's just not available like this exact moment. It will be in the next day or two. Sign up for the wait list. You'll get all the information that you need. Basically, I'm going to help you understand how you build financial freedom through real estate, primarily co-living. We'll go over, the entire co-living challenge, whether you have real estate, you don't have real estate, you're trying to buy your first property, you have property, you're trying to convert. All that good stuff is in there. Tons of stuff, regardless of where you're at, all this good stuff for you guys. All right. With that being said, let's get into the co-living training. I gave you the link for the waitlist. You can use that for the free challenge. Let me actually let me put it that way so you can actually see what you're looking at. So you can understand what you're looking at. There you go. So you can sign up for the CoLiving Challenge, at least to join the waitlist right now. And then you'll be able to join the actual challenge that starts February 25th. I don't know, the last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of February is when we're going to be doing the challenge. Cool. So let's get into some of the quick training and then drop your questions throughout this entire training. The reason why I'm putting this training together for you guys is so it can spark your brain and get you to ask the questions that you think are relevant, that I might be skipping, going too fast through. Like it may be obvious to me because I've been doing this for so long at this point that you might need more information on. Let me know and I will I'll answer those questions for you, whether it's through the training or your own personal experience, your own deals, whatever the situation is. Drop those questions so that I can answer them for you guys. All right, so we also have a meetup actually. So on the 24th of February, there's a meetup with Pace Morby, my mentor. I'm co-hosting the Northern California major meetup in San Francisco. I'm one of the sponsors. We're going to be, sharing some of the information about the CoLiving Challenge in there. I would love for you guys to go to the meetup if you're in Northern California. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can use this link to learn and see what meetups, I just dropped it in the comment, what meetups are available if you want to come and hang out in person with Pace, myself, other real estate investors and leaders. Come through. I'll show you what that looks like real quickly. SoCal. Yep. I'm actually a sponsor, or not a sponsor. I'm actually a co-host of the SoCal one as well, because that's where I started out. So you'll see me at both the February 24th one in San Francisco, and then the March 4th one in Southern California and Long Beach. And I'll show you guys right now. So Creative Nation Tour, right? It's by my mentor, Pace Morby. Learned tons of creative finance, all this other great stuff from him. We're way past these dates now. So if you want to sign up, you just sign up. 24. So there's a couple in California. There's a couple all over, but we have the San Francisco meetup on the 24th and then the Long Beach meetup. Those are the two that I'm co-hosting. And I'll see you guys. I'll be at both of those. So I'd love to see you guys there. I believe you just sign up by RSVPing right here. You can select all the ones you want to sign up. They'll send you the information. Cool. That's enough of that. So let's get into the training. Mini CoLiving Masterclass for you guys. I'm going to keep this link for you guys to sign up for the challenge, but let's get into the training itself right now. We're going to cover very briefly. I don't like the way that looks. No. Too small. It's a lot of my face, but all right, whatever. We're going to cover today is why I believe co-living is the #1 rental strategy. And for me, belief doesn't exist based on emotions or feelings or whatever. That'd be a dumb way to invest, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I talked to thousands of investors at this point, tens of thousands of investors, like in totality. And unfortunately, a lot of people do make investment decisions based on emotions. That is like the worst thing you could ever possibly do. I base mine as much as possible on math. The investment strategies that I choose to use, the properties that I choose to buy, how I analyze them, it's all math based. It's all literally what does the data show to the best of my ability, as opposed to just making decisions based on emotions, because that's the #1 way to really screw yourself and your family and your partners and everyone else involved in the deal. Ideally, learn the math behind investing. It makes the journey so much easier. We'll go through a few very simple case studies of some of my co-living deals, the cost to buy and own co-living properties, so you have a rough idea of what that cost is, how you can choose a market in a property, and then just a little bit of Q&A. And yeah, we're not going to get fully into my journey. It's all there for you guys. I will make this bigger. You guys can see that it's in the real estate roadmap community and all that. But the big thing for me, why I was so driven to become financially free before 30, why I was thinking about it as a teen, why I did everything I could during college, why I did everything I could in my 20s to become financially free in my 30s, because everything for me is family. To me, having the ability to raise kids and be present with them and enjoy my life with them is fundamental and massive. And unfortunately, the world that we live in, fortunately or unfortunately, you need to have money to be able to do that, right? Financial freedom equals time freedom, right? You cannot have freedom and control of your time unless you have the money and resources to do so and sustain your lifestyle. If you don't do that, you can't unless you were born with a bunch of money, which I sure as hell wasn't. The exact opposite, and the vast majority of you were not either. That's why you're here. You're trying to figure out how you can do that or take it to the next level to do that faster. By trade, I'm a chemical engineer. I'm an Army veteran, and I've been learning about real estate since 2018, about my first property in 2020. As of the start of this year, I have over $25 million of real estate based on acquisition. Those properties I've also appreciated. So, they're several million over that. But to me, that's whatever. It's just a bunch of equity. I'm not selling anything for the foreseeable future. So let's get into it. The main things that I do: co-living, creative finance, and capital raising. That's my 3 C's. That's my super investor cheat code. If you ever want to know what is the core of my investing strategy, it's the 3 C's. Co-living, right? Buying properties for co-living, buying them creatively financed, right, with creative financing, and then raising the capital, so capital raising to fund the cost to acquire those deals. That's literally the only way someone like me could have built a portfolio as quickly as I did, and the vast majority of you will be the same case. Most of you don't need $25+ million of real estate. Most of you need 5, 10, 20 properties tops, and you're going to have $100,000+ a year of cash flow, plus hundreds of thousands of dollars a year of wealth building and tax benefits. You don't need to raise millions and millions of dollars. You don't need to buy hundreds of properties. You can achieve the vast majority of your goals with a handful of the right co-living properties. That is fundamental for you to understand. I help tons of people. I'll leave it at that. Whether you're part of my super investors community, you're part of the free stuff, the challenges, all that stuff. My goal is to help you guys as well as continue on my investing journey, but spend the majority of my time doing the things that I love and hanging out with cool people. All right. Yeah, so you'll understand co-living, creative finance, and cap raising, why they work so well together, and how you can build real financial freedom without having to save for decades or burning out throughout the process. So fundamentally, just to understand real estate investing, financial freedom through real estate, I'm going to hide this now. Financial freedom through real estate comes from cash flow, right? Your property generates income, right? Your tenants pay rent. You pay all the expenses each month. Whatever is left over is your profit or your cash flow. You can choose to live off that. If you choose to live off that, you are financially free. If you have more money coming in each month from your properties than you spend in your life, you are financially free. So you have to understand, how much do you spend each month and how much do you need to generate in cash flow to cover that? Cool part about real estate is not only do you get the benefit of cash flow, makes you financially free, you keep way more of your money because of tax savings. And on top of that, your properties are increasing in value because your properties are appreciating. They're worth more over time. And your tenants each month, when you're paying, when you're getting cash flow, you're using that income to cover the expenses, which includes the mortgage. Your tenants are paying down your debts. Your properties are increasing in value. That difference is your equity, right? Your property is worth $1 million. Your debts are $500,000. That $500,000 difference is your equity. That is wealth building while you're generating cash flow to live off of. And you're keeping most, if not all of your money, if you're doing real estate investing right, because of the tax savings. The thing that makes real estate way better than other investment strategies is because of leverage. I get to leverage the bank or creative financing for the debt, which is the majority of the property's value, right? It's through financing. I get to raise money to buy my deals, covering the down payments and the other entry costs. And the cool part about real estate is it's a skill that once it is developed, you continue to leverage it. And the more and more and more that you do, the better your skills are, the more relationships you have, the easier it is to find deals, to buy deals, to raise money on deals. You have that momentum that makes it so much easier to continue growing and scaling. So maybe you're financially free at $10,000 a month of cash flow, right? You're building $100,000+ of wealth a year, but you want to keep building your wealth, building your legacy. You're totally cool to do that. And it just gets easier and easier over time. That's why I didn't stop investing when I was financially free at 29 years old. That is exactly why I continue doing this. But more importantly, it's less about me at this point. I can continue buying multiple properties a month, every single month, as long as I choose to. There is nothing stopping me from doing so. the biggest thing I can do and the thing that drives me the most is helping you guys do the exact same thing. Like, we're good for the rest of our life. I want you guys to also have the clear guidance on how you can do the exact same for your families, but understand nothing works unless you do, right? That's a fundamental rule of mine. None of this works unless you do. So honestly, if you're not willing to work and learn and execute, right? You got to learn it and do it. If you're not willing to do that, you're not going to be financially free. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? Like, you have to learn it and then do the work and do it long enough to generate the results. If you're not willing to, well, you don't really deserve to be financially free. It's just a fact, right? You can't not go to the gym and want to grow your muscles, right? Like, you have to do the work. Seems obvious, but I don't know, man. All right. And then cash on cash return is basically your cash flow, right? This cash flow divided by the amount of money you have to put into the deal, right? If it costs you $100,000 to get into the deal and it generates you X cash flow, your cash on cash return is saying the cash flow divided by your entry cost is your cash on cash return. What that is saying is, how hard is your money working for you? The higher the cash on cash return, the better the investment. You're getting more money back in cash flow for every dollar you invested. The only way to increase your cash on cash return is to increase either your cash flow or to lower your entry cost, the amount of money it took for you to buy this property. The only way to increase your cash on cash return to make your money work harder for you is to get more cash flow per dollar invested or put less money in to get that cash flow. All right. This is true whether you're a buyer or cap partner, bird dog, wholesaler. The better the cash on cash return on a deal, the better it is for you as a buyer, the more secure you are as a capital partner, and the more returns you're going to get for the money you invest. This is true if you're a bird dog and wholesaler, because the better the deals that you're getting to buyers, the more easily it is to sell them, the more money you can make on those deals. And in my opinion, co-living is the number one strategy for cash flow and cash on cash return, because it is just like every other residential real estate, every single family home or small multifamily that you buy, it is way higher cash flow and way more consistent income than short-term, mid-term, or long-term rentals. It beats all those, and buying residential properties are way easier and way less risk and way less time and way less money and way less skills needed than to find RV parks or mobile home parks or large multifamily. So it gets the benefit of getting the highest, most stable returns compared to any other residential property, right? A house. But it's also way easier than some of the larger assets that can generate really good returns, but it takes a lot more effort to be able to get one of those. So the goal is to get there quickly and effectively, and that's what co-living allows you to do. It's just a numbers thing. The 3 core pillars, my super investor blueprint, my 3 C's cheat code, right? Co-living investments, creative finance, cap raising. That is the deals are co-living deals that are creatively financed. Capital raising is solving the money issue. You utilize the deals and the money, you put those together, you own a property. Your operations ensure that you are buying the right properties and that you are successfully generating your cash flow and building your wealth once you own the property. You need deals and money to buy assets. So choose the best types of deals and the least bottlenecked way to fund those deals, and then ensure your operations are successful, right? You're buying great deals and you're operating them well, so you generate the cash flow and you build your wealth by owning that asset over a long period of time. Simply, what is co-living? You are buying a house. You're just going to buy a house that you see out there and you're renting it out by the room instead of renting out the whole house. The way to make that way better is you're buying a bigger house, maybe a 4-bedroom, 3-bath property, right? And instead of just renting it as 4 rooms, you're converting the common areas into bedrooms. You're converting the extra office, the dining room, the living room, whatever, into bedrooms. So you're taking that same 4-bedroom house and now you're making an 8-bedroom, 3-bath house, generating you twice as much income, and the amount of money it costs to convert the property over isn't that much to build out each of those rooms, especially if you do it the way that I do it. The only real common area you need in a property like this for shared housing is a kitchen. It doesn't even have to be a huge kitchen. It needs to be a kitchen that is sufficient for your tenants. But understand, most people that are living rent by the room, they are grateful to be able to live in a property that is much lower cost than the alternative for a single family home. Like they've basically been priced out for single family homes or 1-bedroom units. This allows them to save money. And more often than not, they're using that money to enjoy their life, which includes eating out, door dashing, traveling, maybe even saving and investing. But like they understand it's a give and take. So why invest in co-living? Well, I'll go further into this during the challenge. You get way higher income than traditional rentals. You get way lower vacancy through shared housing. So if you have a single family home that is not rented, you have zero income. If I have a 8-bedroom, 3-bath property and only 4 of the 8 bedrooms are rented, well, I'm still getting 50% of my income. And that's probably already more than what I would have got as a long-term rental. So you're spreading out the vacancy risk through each of the rooms, which is huge. It's much more accessible to start and scale, like I said, compared to multifamily, RV parks, all those other things, even like short-term rentals, which are hospitality and luxury and huge amounts to renovate and furnish. It's much easier to start and scale co-living investing to be able to buy your 5, 10, 20 properties and generate the cash flow that you need to be financially free. And the cool part is, as a side benefit, we also get to provide affordable living for our tenants. That's awesome. That's an awesome thing that you can say and feel good about compared to any other investment strategy. So here's just an idea of some of our co-living property layouts, just so you kind of understand, right? So, we're taking this living room and this dining room, and those were easily converted into bedrooms, right? This already had the 2 walls. We're adding this one shared wall here and then closing off this doorway to be a bedroom. We're adding this one wall here, and we already have the shared wall. That's now a bedroom. This was this great room, right? And now that turned into 2 rooms. There was this ensuite bedroom with this private bathroom, and this bathroom has been split into 2 bathrooms, one for this one to use, one for this one to use, and same for this bathroom was split into 2 separate bathrooms because these were huge bathrooms. The garage is also 2 more bedrooms, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The lowest cost conversion is always going to be things like this dining room, living room conversion, adding 1 or 2 walls and a door, or adding a door to this office, or adding these few walls is just so much lower cost to convert. It could be $2,000 to $6,000 per room to create. That is so minimal considering you're generating so much extra income for each of these rooms. Garage conversions are a lot more expensive because then depending on the finish, the flooring, all this other stuff, it's going to cost you more money to do this. The thing is, a lot of people think the strategy that they should implement is they are taking a house, they're gutting it entirely and then renovating it completely. Well, that's cool, but that's going to cost you more money. There's way more risk. Yet you'll get co-living, but it costs you more money, took longer, more risk, way slower to cash flow, way more things can go wrong. Like, I don't even understand why they do that. I mean, I understand in theory why they think they should do that. But if your goal is to be financially free, my opinion is your goal should be to do that as efficiently as possible. How can you do that quickly and effectively with the least amount of risk? Well, doing lower cost conversions that are easier and faster, minimize your risk, and accelerate your ability to buy more and more of these properties and just achieve your freaking goal. If my goal was to do this over 40 years, yeah, okay, I guess maybe that would have been fine. My goal is to get this done as soon as possible. You don't achieve this quickly unless you understand what you're doing and then create your strategy to match that. I wanted this stuff fast. Doesn't mean I was going to take unnecessary risk. If anything, I've de-risked my way to get there through having active income, through having savings, through choosing investments that are lower risk, through doing my renovations that are lower risk. Doesn't mean everything's always perfect, but that's the idea, is you're trying to minimize your risk to achieve your goal so you can achieve it quickly without a bunch of catastrophic things derailing you completely. This is key. This is fundamental. This is another one of our properties, just so you can kind of see. This one does have a separate kitchenette. So it's got the main kitchen and the separate kitchenette. This one has no living spaces at all. It's got 2 laundries, kind of treats it as like 2 different units in the same house. I'm not going to go too far into it, but why co-living outperforms all these other strategies. You get higher cash flow, just like short-term rentals, higher cash flow. But you also get that income much more consistently. You get that year-round. It's not seasonal. You don't get, 2 weekends make you a bunch of money, but then it's vacant the rest of the, like, you literally get the best of both worlds. Higher cash flow, more consistency of that income. And on top of that, it's way easier, in my opinion, to manage the operations of a co-living property than be in the hospitality business of short-term rentals. Plus, short-term rentals are definitely on their way down, and the economy doing worse and worse further makes it a worse investment than co-living, where the economy stays as it is or goes down, you're still good. Like literally, people need more affordable housing in that scenario, not less. To compare some of the financials, this is the exact same property in Atlanta that would generate $2,600 a month of long-term rental income. You don't have to cover utilities for a long-term rental, but you have to set aside money for vacancy. You have to pay for management. These are percentages of the income, maintenance. Well, this property would lose around $47 a month as a long-term rental. Well, instead, turning this into a rent by the room property, it generates $6,866 a month. You have to pay utilities. You have to cover certain service costs. You have to pay more for insurance, and that's $1,200 more than you would have as a long-term rental. Your vacancy, because it's a percentage of the income, is higher as well. Same with your management. It's a higher percentage and it's a higher dollar amount, or it's a higher percentage and it's higher income. So that's larger. And your maintenance is a higher dollar amount. This same property that would lose $47, lose $50 as a long-term rental generates $1,700 a month of cash flow. That's insane. That's the whole thing, is you can find the opportunities now. If you understand what you're looking for and you have this tool in your tool belt, may not be the only thing that you do, but if you have this tool in your tool belt, you can literally create investment opportunities that others cannot see. We have bought properties from people who were losing money and had to let it go for nothing, and we took it over creatively, and we're generating thousands of dollars a month of cash flow with very little money in, except for converting the property to co-living. You have to understand this as a tool and how to do it effectively so that you can find these opportunities, especially before it becomes more and more commonplace, so then it's more and more competitive. Trying to give you that head start, that advantage that allowed me to build a lot of results since 2023 in the co-living space, so you can do the same for yourself. Technically, I've been doing co-living since 2020, since my first purchase, but it wasn't as intentional as it has been for 2023, since 2023. This was also a creatively financed deal. Won't get too far into the weeds. Not only are you generating more cash flow, but you are putting in more money to buy the same property, because if it cost me $74,000 to buy it and long-term rent it, well, if I'm creating 4 more rooms through converting the beds, the offices and all that to bedrooms, it's an extra $24,000 I have to put in. Well, and after furnish, that's an extra $12,000 I got to put in. So instead of putting $74,000, I'm putting in $110,000 for co-living. I have to put in more. However, the cash flow is not only like way higher, but my cash on cash return, how hard is my money working for me? Even though I'm putting in more money, because I'm generating so much more cash flow, my cash on cash return is massively higher. In this instance, it doesn't matter because it's negative as a long-term rental, so it'll always be bad. But my cash on cash return is way higher. I'll tell you right now, I'm part of all these real estate groups and threads and forums and whatever. There's a lot of people who are grateful to make $50, $100 a month in cash flow with virtually like 1% or 2% of cash on cash return. That's insane. That would literally take forever to get any meaningful results in real estate, especially if you're using your own money. And you can't even raise money on that because it's not worth it. Why would someone give you money? Why would they partner with you on that deal? That sucks anyway. They won't. So you get way more cash flow instead of the measly $50, $100 people are typically looking for. You're going to get 1,000 plus. I don't even look at deals that generate less than $1,000. And you get way higher cash on cash returns. When interest rates were super low, people were stoked with 5, 8, 10, maybe even 12% cash on cash return. I was like, oh my God, what a great deal. I'm not buying properties personally that are less than 15% cash on cash return. You might if you use your own money, but if you're raising money, you need higher returns so that when you split it, it makes sense for you and for your partner. So I have a different criteria probably than you might if you're using your own money, because I'm raising money for my deals. We have to split the returns. So just to put into context, people are grateful to buy a $50 cash flow property that generates 1% or 2% of cash on cash return. That's insane to me. It's illogical, makes no sense. Co-living allows me to generate thousands of dollars a month of cash flow and have double-digit cash on cash returns, including this is not even close to one of our best deals. We have properties that are generating 20, 25, 30% cash on cash return, $2,200, $2,500, even close to $3,000 a month of cash flow. How many $3,000 a month cash flowing properties would you need to be financially free? Would you need to never have to work again? How many of those would you need to replace all of your current income? Once you do that, once you replace your income and never have to work again, trade your time for money, you can either just enjoy the rest of your life or continue building that as much as you want. I've continued to build, but just with less hours per day because I've got all the momentum and the skills that I can do so. You'll be in the same position. Showing just a couple of our property, just some of the stuff, right? These are different properties, just showing that the cool part is it's not one person paying for the house. I get multiple people that live in the house, each paying their own income. So if one stops paying, fine, right? Like it's not the end of the world compared to the whole house. And I don't have vacant. Well, these were all, every single unit was occupied. This further shows like the benefit. You get way more money and the risk is spread out through multiple tenants. Best of both worlds. And for me, one of my rules of thumb is that if you want to do real estate investing the right way, you do that as someone who takes care of your properties, who takes care of your tenants. I can't like prove to you for a fact, but the more you take care of your properties and your tenants, the more they take care of your properties and you, right? Like that is, I can't prove that to you on a spreadsheet because it always shows that you should put less in, be as like spend as little as you can each month because you'll make an extra $50 a month or whatever. I'm telling you, if you take care of your properties and you take care of your tenants, that is way better for your tenants, for your properties, and for you as well. It literally is. I can show you based on historical data of my portfolio, but I cannot prove to you by analyzing a deal right now because if you put in more money to better furnish a property, to better renovate a property, it's going to be a slightly lower cash on cash return. If you cover the bare minimum of expenses as opposed to sending in a cleaner once every 2 or 3 months, it's going to look better because you saving an extra $100 of cash flow. But the biggest name of the game for co-living is how can you keep your tenants in your properties paying, happy, and keep them there as long as possible so there's little to no turnover between tenants. Taking care of your properties and doing it the right way is the best thing that you can do. What I do is I don't just buy properties that are co-living. That is one way to massively increase my cash flow and cash on cash return, but I'm also buying them leveraging creative financing. What that means is I'm buying them with lower interest rates, lower down payments, and because I don't have to deal with banks, traditional banks over and over again, the process to buy deals is way faster, cost me way less, not just the down payment and the lower interest rates, right? I'm paying less in interest and fees, but banks have additional fees for like the loan origination, the appraisals, and all these other things that will make the process more costly and slower than if you were to just buy leverage and creative financing. You may or may not know how to do that, the process, whatever, that's up to you. And I show you guys how to do that kind of stuff. But this is a big part of my overall 3 C's. My super investor strategy is co-living, creative financing, capital raising to fund all those deals. Just to show you a very simple example, if I was to buy that previous a $350,000, I think it was a $385,000 property, $400,000 property, whatever, through a bank that said, hey, you need a 25% down payment and your interest rate is 7%, my loan payment would be $2,328. So I'd have to put down $96,250. Okay. So $96,000 down payment, where if I did creative financing and I was able to structure it with a 10% down payment, instead, I'd only put down $38,500. That is a difference of almost $60,000. That $60,000 difference allows me to buy 1 or 2 more of these properties. This is how I'm able to buy more properties, be more scalable, get way higher returns, and achieve more cash flow with the same amount of money. On top of that, because my interest rate is lower, not only could I buy more properties that will have higher cash on cash return, because my interest rate is lower, my monthly payment is lower, which means I also get more cash flow. So my cash flow is both going up and my entry cost is going down. My cash on cash return explodes up on every deal compared to traditional financing. And I can buy more of these properties because less money goes in, because interest rates are lower, you're paying debts down faster, you're keeping more money, you're getting more cash flow. It's amazing. So I'd get $853 more monthly cash flow just going 3% versus 7% on the same loan amount. It's an extra $10,000 a year of cash flow. I'd save over $57,000 up front, less money put in. With the lower rates, that means with a lower interest rate, less money is being wasted on interest. That means we're paying down my debts faster. That means I'm building wealth faster on top of that. More cash flow, higher cash on cash return, less money spent, which means you could buy more properties. And with the lower interest rates, I'm building wealth faster. We're paying down our debts way faster. Cheat code, right? Like mic drop. So literally, what did it say? I'm buying better deals and I'm putting less money in to buy those better deals. And then CoLiving just takes it to the whole next level. And very simply, higher returns, higher cash on cash returns means that you get more cash flow and more cash on cash return, and that benefits you as a buyer, capital partner, a bird dog, and a wholesaler. So if you're doing it as someone who is the buyer, the main operator, you get financial freedom faster. You get to do so with less properties, right? Because you put less in, you get higher returns. If you're a capital partner, you're the one who's passively investing with an operator. You get better returns and you get more security because the deals are better. If you're a bird dog or a wholesaler, you're able to find better deals, which once again, that is easier to sell to buyers, right? And they're willing to pay you more money because you're bringing them great deals. Regardless if you're focused on active income, passive investing, active investing, it is quite literally always a benefit to get higher cash flow and higher cash on cash returns. How do you do that? CoLiving. How do you supercharge that? Creative financing. We won't go too far into the weeds, but this is just showing an example of how we were able to pay a significant amount of money to a bird dog and wholesaler. You can't really justify $25K typically on a buy and hold deal. We were able to because although there was a ton of money provided to them, our total entry was $130,000, right? To buy the property, to acquire it, to renovate it, to furnish it, and have reserves set aside. Because we were able to make thousands of dollars of cash flow and over 20% cash on cash return, their assignment fee was totally justified. If this was a terrible deal, well, we wouldn't buy it in the first place. And they couldn't even garner a $2,000 assignment fee. Like they can't sell it, so they get nothing. Or on top of that, if they do sell it, they're going to sell it for much cheaper, much lower amount that they get to receive because the deal's not great. The better the deal, the more money you get to make as someone doing real estate for active income, wholesaling, bird dogging, right? To give you a rough idea of the cost to acquire CoLiving rentals, every single property costs the exact same amount to buy. Like if you're buying a property, whether you're doing long-term, mid-term, short-term, whatever, the same cost upfront for the acquisition. The cost for the down payment or the money to the seller, there's any arrears or liens, like if you're buying a property creatively and you have to pay some back payments on the mortgage, there's an agent or wholesaler involved, there's closing costs, that cost is going to be the exact same. That does not change, right? That's what these costs are right here. That's typically the majority. That's in this instance was $48,000. That's a good chunk of the entry cost. Well, when you're buying CoLiving, you have to account for extra. You're buying the property is the property, regardless of your management strategy. The acquisition costs are the same, but there's extra entry costs to account for. Like I showed you previously, we had to put in more money to renovate the property, right? Here's $26,000 to furnish the property. Here's $9,600, and then have additional reserves to complete the renovations, to complete the furnishings, to fill up the house, right? To fill it up with tenants before it starts profiting. You give yourself roughly 2 to 3 months to do so, depending on the market. It's going to cost me, I don't know what the extra here is. Is that the same exact example? I think it's the same example. It's an extra $65,000. No, that's not this. 26, 96, whatever, around $35,000 for additional renovations and furnishings, and $8,000 here plus another $700 here in reserves. So around $9,000 in reserves. So this property cost me an extra $35,000 to renovate and furnish, an extra $9,000 in reserves. So an extra $44,000 than this $78,000 or this amount to buy the deal. So it costs more, but if you're getting way more cash flow, if you're getting way more cash flow and it is costing you more, but your cash flow is so massively higher, your cash on cash return, your money invested is working way harder for you. Hopefully that's understood. The difference is also, like I showed you, when you are owning a co-living property, it's not like a typical long-term rental where the tenants cover all their own utilities, which is typically the case. It's more similar to midterm and short-term rentals where you are covering the utility costs. There might be more insurance. So the fixed expenses are the same regardless of the strategy. You got to pay your mortgage, which includes the principal and interest of the loan. You got to pay taxes and insurance. But if you're buying something that's a more specialized strategy, short-term, midterm, co-living, you're probably going to pay more for insurance. We have an extra $100 here. You're going to be the one to cover the utilities. So that's an extra several $100s here. It looks like roughly, $700, $800 of extra utilities. Cover some services like landscaping, house cleaning. You're going to provide some supplies to the house. You have management costs, which are going to be higher than a long-term rental. Property management typically going to be a little bit higher. Either the percentage is higher, but definitely the dollar amount is higher, even if it's the same percent, because the income is higher. That's what it comes from. And your vacancy and maintenance and CapEx are higher, even if they're the same percentage, because the dollar of income that it's based off of is a higher amount. So you're paying, thousands more in expenses, but the income is so much higher that your actual cash flow is significantly higher. This was perfectly portrayed here, right? You're making much more income, but you're also spending more, but the net cash flow in this instance is almost $1,650 higher. You make more, you're also spending more each month, but your cash flow that you got left over each month is significantly higher. Because it's significantly higher, even though your entry costs are higher, your cash on cash return is way higher than it would have been otherwise. That's exactly what this was. Your cash flow is higher, even though you're spending more, right? You're spending $3,171 instead of $1,971, but because your income is $6,866 versus $2,600, your overall cash flow is significantly higher. And even though your entry cost, it costs you an extra, $35,000 compared to a long-term rental to renovate and furnish and have reserves for the property, your cash on cash return is also way higher. Okay. Entry is higher, expenses are higher, but your overall, the things that matter, your cash flow is way higher. And your cash on cash return, which is saying how hard is your money working for you, is way higher. That's the benefit. All right. We don't have time to go into the weeds here, but I have this whole training for you guys in the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. I want to answer you guys' questions, but I also want you to understand that I've got trainings on how you can choose your co-living market, because it's very important that you don't try to make co-living work everywhere. You follow the data. Where do they need affordable housing? Where is there a need for it? And where can you find great investments that match up? When you can find investments that make sense and there's a high demand for this type of housing, you match those up, you're in a great market that is both getting you a ton of money as a co-living rental, and the economics are sound, so the property's appreciating a lot more in value. Get the benefit of increasing both your cash flow and cash on cash return, while also increasing your wealth benefits and your total return on investment. I utilize a platform called PadSplit. If you guys want the link to it, this is literally one of the maps, one of the tools that they provide you. When you go there, it's completely free to sign up. You don't pay anything unless you choose to manage your properties on there. So you have to own a property, set it up, start generating income before you pay for anything. It's all free to sign up. I just provided the link for you guys in the chat. I will also share it real quickly right here, but it shows you where are they operating. Well, they're the #1 platform for rent by the room. It's a good rule of thumb to base your investment markets at least on where they are operating, because they're already doing a lot of the research for you. Further, you can select any of those cities, right? Let's say, right, we have Atlanta, Georgia right here. Boop, we click that. You can see specifically in the city, well, also around the city, the different zip codes in which they're operating. So it'll tell you data for Atlanta, the city, the number of current units they have active versus how much are upcoming. So how many new ones are coming, how many people, how many prospective tenants, different people have searched for co-living, a rent by the room property in this market in the last 30 days, what people are on average getting in this market, if it's a shared bathroom, right? If 2 people, 3 people, 4 people are sharing a bathroom versus if they have a private bathroom, and how many of the total rooms are occupied, how quickly does the first booking typically happen, how quickly, or how quickly does it take to fill up 80% of the rooms, right? For every 5 rooms, how quickly are 4 of those rooms getting filled up? On top of the city data, you can click any of these, and that quite literally is the, they'll give you the zip code by zip code data, which is even more important. Like I said, I'm very data driven. Can you make every investment decision perfectly and assume everything is gonna be exactly accurate? No, what you can do is leverage as much possible data that is available to minimize your risk and to be as accurate as possible, right? If you're doing that, you're doing the proper due diligence, you're protecting yourself, your partners, everyone involved, and you're doing everything you can to make an informed investment decision. It's the hard part with stocks, right? You invest in stocks and maybe you know something and you don't, I don't know. I mean, Congress people know, right? They get a bunch of returns on their money, but for us, we don't really know. Like Apple can do whatever, Tesla can do whatever, right? Elon could go do a podcast and smoke a joint on the podcast, and then that just drops Tesla's value. Or he says they're doing robots and going to Mars and it increases the value. Like we don't have control of that. Well, with real estate, you choose what properties you're buying, where you're buying them, how you're managing them. And you're also analyzing specifically for that deal, how much income do I think it'll make? How much expenses do I think it'll make? How can I structure this so that I'm buying it at the right price or at the right term? So I'm ensuring I'm getting the best possible deal, I guess, possible, right? You have much more control, very different than stocks. And the more math driven you are, the more you try to do this, the lower risk that you have in investing and the better you are setting yourself up for success in the real estate investing space. This is how you minimize your risk when it comes to investing, because every single investment ever has risk. It cannot be an investment if it cannot be an investment that increases in value. It does not also have a form of risk. Your job is to understand what are the risky variables. How can you lower that risk as much as possible? Your goal is to eliminate it, but it's impossible. Your goal is to know enough to be able to lower it as much as possible. And that's where the right education, the right tools, right community, all that stuff exists. I have our CoLiving Freedom community where it literally is the step-by-step process on how to do every single thing here and then some. It's like nauseating how amazing and step-by-step the education is, but it will literally challenge you in the sense of don't join if you're not going to put in the work. Otherwise, you're not benefiting yourself. Learn it, do it, get results, become financially free with $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 of cash flow, build massive wealth, and enjoy the rest of your life. That's the goal. If you're not willing to do the work to do that, well, don't waste any more money, right? Take advantage of the free stuff if you want. Don't waste any money joining something if you're not going to do the work or leverage the tools, the resources, the live support calls with my asset manager, project manager, operations people. Like, don't deal analysis support. Like, if you're not going to do that, why even waste your money? Just don't. Keep it. Keep it in your bank. Do whatever you want. Take your wife or husband out on a date. Go buy some really fancy ice cream or toys for your kids. I don't know. Save for a vacation. Whatever you want to do with your money. Ideal co-living property characteristics. Like I said, I want properties that are at least 6 or more bedrooms. That's after I renovate them. So I'm not looking at properties that are less than 3 bedroom, 2 bath, no less than 2,000 square feet. Ideally, my properties that are starting out are at least 4 bedroom, 3 bath. So I can make them 7, 8, 9, up to 10 bedrooms. That's the sweet spot. So to do that, I need 4 bedroom, 3 bath properties that are at least 2,000 square feet, that have the right flow. They have the right parking. They're in the right markets. And ideally, like I said, if the property flow is solid, it's going to cost me a lot less to convert those properties. Proper renovations are a must. I can't get into the weeds of that right now. Here you go. Screenshot it. Enjoy. This is exactly the big thing that I do to make sure that I'm getting my renovation costs as low as possible, minimize the risk, get it done quickly so I can start performing and generating cash flow as quickly as possible with the least amount of things going wrong. So the thing is, you need a repeatable system, right? You need co-living deals, right? Co-living deals that are creatively financed to get the best possible deals, right? These get you the best deals with the highest cash flow and highest cash on cash return. Capital raising allows you to unlock the money piece, which is the hardest part for most people. Even if it costs you $100,000 for every deal, just say $100,000 to buy, renovate, furnish reserves, how many of those can you personally fund yourself? Well, as an active duty military member and then government employee, which is what I was when I started all this, I couldn't even fund one deal outside of leveraging things like house hacking, right? Low down payment options, VA loans, FHA loans. There was not possible for me to have $100,000 just ready to buy real estate. Well, I had to learn how to raise capital. And that was a big thing to allow me to buy much more deals. And then that meant I had to get really great at finding great deals. operating them as successfully as I can so that I'm doing everything I can to protect my capital partners. That's your goal. Understand that whether you have a few $100,000 or not, like you can only buy so many properties. So if you have a $500,000, you can buy 5 properties. They generate $2,000 a month for you. Cool. Maybe that $10,000 a month is all you need to be financially free. If you have $100,000, you can maybe buy 1 property and generate $200,000 or $2,000 a month. Is that going to be enough? Probably not. You'll need to develop the skill set of generating more active income or learning how to raise money to buy those deals. That's not what this is about at all. But when you are buying co-living properties that have way higher returns, that's the fundamental thing to make raising capital much easier. The better the deal, the better the returns, the more proven you are as an operator, the easier it is to raise money on your deals. This is whatever. If you want to join my co-living community, you can do so through school. I'll talk more about that during the co-living challenge. That is not a requirement for most of you guys. If you will not put in the work, if you're in a position where you cannot afford to join and pay $197 a month, I got it, right? I literally took what is out there and created I guess I didn't take it. I created a way better version of what is out there in the co-living space and charge a tiny fraction of the cost and provide you more education, more value, more support calls than anyone else offers. Because I literally am doing this thing over and over again every single day. Like, this is what we do. We buy a ton of these properties. I own more than every other person that I know in the real estate investing space, in the co-living investing space. And my deals are not just more, they're just way better deals because I combine co-living with creative financing. I can buy better properties and I'm more scalable than the vast majority of people out there. That is so important for you to understand that you need to know what you're looking for, how to make them as great as possible, and then actually execute on them. That's what the co-living community is. You get all my tools, resources, all that other stuff, renovation checklist. You get, here's exactly how we furnish our properties. Here's the exact items. It's all on the calculator for you guys. Everything, step by step. Actually, okay. So you could literally go here, sign up, but just to show you, right, like literally step by step, financial freedom mindset. What does that look like? Choosing your market, understanding how to do that, the tools and resources for that, how to analyze co-living markets in general, like if it's a good co-living market, and then if it's a good economic market, should you be investing in that market in the first place? How do you find and evaluate properties for co-living, different ways to acquire co-living, and what I recommend, the various ways to do it, what I recommend, and your roadmap to do so, how to renovate and furnish those properties, how to analyze those deals, whether you're buying them, like what data, how do you gather the data for those, how to actually analyze in general, how do you analyze on market deals that you're buying traditionally, how do you analyze co-living deals, how do you buy a property that's already co-living, the comparing long-term rent to co-living rent and performance, comparing traditional to creative finance, what makes a great deal, how do you improve those deals, the different co-living management strategies, building your co-living empire. So this is more business-based, like how do you set your business up, right, your real estate business, so it's actually scalable, your 90-day roadmap. And then this also, each one of these has their own tools and resources and all that to help you out. Like I said, if you cannot afford it, please don't join. Do not stretch yourself to join education that you cannot afford. Don't do that's like a detriment. Don't do that. If you can, you want the shortcut, you want everything laid out for you much more step by step. That's what that is for. That's what that's for you guys. For those of you, like I said, the free Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community has trainings. I give away free tools and all that stuff as well. The free creative and co-living calculator, you can literally take this link. You can use your phone, QR code, whatever. It's also included. It's in the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community, right? You can go and use the link in there to get the calculator. You can scan this and get the calculator sent to your email. If you're not seeing it because you scan it and you're saying you're not getting the email, check your spam. I don't know what's going on, but sometimes it goes to spam when it's your initial email. It's like the first thing we send. It's got a link. Sometimes that goes to your spam. All right. This is the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community that I showed you. You can use this QR code, or I can drop the link again for you guys to be able to sign up. All right. With that being said, let's answer a bunch of questions for you guys right now. What I'm going to do is make it so I can see these questions. way more easily. So I'm going to answer as much as I can. I'm going to go 10 minutes answering everything I possibly can. And a lot of people said, yes, I expected that. That's usually the case, that I have answered the majority of your question throughout the training. That's why I do that. That is why when people ask me for help and they say, hey, can we get on a 10-minute call? That's cool. I can help you out in 10 minutes. I'll do my best to help you out in 10 minutes. But that's why I create courses and long form videos. It takes me time to develop what that's going to look like. It takes me time to say, here's the outline of the training, what I want to cover, what I want their goal to be. Here's the slides for that. Here's the, if it's 20 hours of education, here's the overall goal. Here's each part of it. Here's all the tools and resources, all of that other stuff laid out for you. That's why I refer you primarily to the education, the tools, and the resources, because it's literally there for you step by step, way better than I could ever talk to you in 15 minutes and try to provide you all that stuff. But if there's specific questions, I love answering that. I love to help you guys out. I just know that it is way better for you to go through the trainings, the tools, and resources, because I know how much time and energy and like my heart was poured into creating that kind of stuff. And I do that because, like I said, I'm an engineer by trade. I tend to do things. I know what the end goal is. Then I'll reverse engineer. What is the roadmap to get there? It's how I've been able to achieve my goals. And I know not a lot of other people work that way. Definitely not the educators. They're not really like that. They're whatever they are, salesy, market, whatever they are. If I have this advantage that I'm pretty good at teaching this stuff, especially in a sequential order, that's why, at least for the foreseeable future, I provide this stuff to you guys as much as I can, dedicate time and energy every single week to providing you guys value so that you can follow this and execute and get the results that you and your family deserve if you're willing to learn and work to get those results. If you're not, well, no education is going to save you. No tool is going to save you if you don't put in the work. That, it's just a fact. All right. Let's see. Recently joined my co-living program. Hey, let's go. Welcome, John. Are there any reasons why a duplex, triplex, or fourplex would not work for co-living? No, there's no reason at all, brother. Those are great investments. I love small multifamily. The issue isn't that co-living doesn't work for multifamily. It most definitely does. However, understand it's better when they're bigger properties, right? Like if they're 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, as opposed to, the typical 4 unit, which is like 2-bedroom, 1-bath and 800 square feet, right? Like you can only add so much in there. And the problem is, because they're all individual units, you can rent them out by the room, but there's a lot of wasted space per unit, if that makes sense. If your 4 unit is 2,000 square feet, you have one single family home that's 2,000 square feet, but it's 4 individual units for that same 2,000 square feet. Well, you have more walls, more hallways, you have 4 kitchens, all these other things that are eating up into the same square footage. So there's that piece of it that is a little bit more difficult, but also primarily it's getting those deals. There are just less multifamilies out there for sale than single family residential homes. And most people looking for 2, 3, 4 units are other investors. You're competing with other investors. Whereas if you're looking at single family homes that are larger, that are not selling, you can buy those because the person who wants to live in it says it's not worth this price, but it might make sense for you for a single family home to rent out by the room, as opposed to when you're competing with other investors who are looking at it as an investment vehicle. So it's a more inefficient use of the same square footage, assuming it's the same square footage. And B, you're competing with more investors in the small multifamily space. And you're typically buying from other investors. So it's less likely you can get a really good deal as well, if that makes sense. And the properties don't sit for as long. And if you're buying deals creatively the way that I do, it's also harder to get more creatively financed opportunities for 2, 3, 4 units as you can just single family homes, because people are in a different position when they bought an investment versus when they bought a house and things change for them. All right. Calculator. Yep. If it's not working, check your spam. I really don't know. Send me a message and I can try to get you it myself. I don't know. You submit the email, you get the calculator, right? You submit your info. It should send it to you. It goes to your spam. It should go to the same exact, should go to your email. It might be in your spam. If it doesn't work, try it again, is my best bet. If you're really not working, I don't know what to, I could try to help you out. Yeah. So for those of you guys asking, colivinginvesting.com, this is the link for the wait list for our free 3-day challenge. So there it is again. Just dropped it in the comments. If you want to sign up for that, please feel free to do so. All right. Yeah, I'll put this here for now. In your buy box. Okay, so Jeffrey asks, in my buy box, the wholesale assignment fee and agent commissions are required. I sent a few properties, but I wasn't able to get the information from the wholesalers. I put 0. Is that okay? Okay, so he's talking about as a bird dog, as someone finding deals, I have a form in which you can submit deals for me to look at and decide if I want to buy them. I like to understand, because I really want to understand what is the opportunity to renegotiate or improve deals. It's a big part of my super investor strategy, is making deals as best as I can before closing on them. It's your only chance before closing, so you have to do everything you can to make it great. I like to understand, if they say it's a $50,000 entry, what they're lumping in there is the down payment or the money of the seller, wholesaler assignment fee, and agent commission. I don't mind paying those. I have no problem paying those. I don't even care who's getting the majority of the money. But if I understand what the breakdown is, I can be more intentional about how I'm trying to restructure the deal to make sure that it still makes sense for everyone else. Just because I say I want to buy it at, these terms doesn't mean they have to accept it. But if we do, I want to understand where is it impacting, what is negotiable versus what's really not negotiable. So in the case of me, I like to see that broken down. If you're unable to get that information specifically, it is perfectly fine to put the total entry cost, the $50,000, and put 0 for wholesaler and agent commission. Totally fine, right? If you don't have that specifically, just set zeros and give me the total entry. We'll gather that information anyway when we do our own research, if it passes the sniff test. That doesn't matter as much for the initial review for me, for my process. But if we're we want to move forward with it, I'm going to want to understand that. We're just going to request that information from the wholesaler. We might have a better time getting that information as the actual buyer than you might as the bird dog and wholesaler. Either way, you get paid for connecting that deal as long as we buy it, right? That's the whole idea. So great question. That's for my bird dogs out there and wholesalers. Hopefully you understand why we ask that information, so we understand what is actually possible for this deal. All right, let's see. Cool. People are registering for the events. John, congrats, brother. John is a super investor. He's part of my mastermind community. John is crushing it, already owns real estate. Awesome background. Connect with John. He is looking at deals in the Denver, Colorado area. He's local. He's got a bunch of bird dog connections. If you want to partner with him, you want to put your money to work with someone like John, who's an established investor, co-living investor as well, and or want to bring him deals because he's an actual buyer, connect with John. Thank you. Thank you for thanking me for my service. Is my community open to everyone? So my free community is literally everyone. Real Estate Freedom Roadmap is literally 95% of people take advantage of that, right? You need to focus on active income. You maybe don't have the money to invest even a little bit to your education right now. I got it. Or you've already spent, whatever. Enjoy the free stuff. For those of you that want to get way better, streamlined, step-by-step education tools and resources for co-living, that's what the Co-Living Freedom community is. It's dedicated to everything co-living that is given to my super investors, my mastermind, much more expensive community. But for co-living, you guys get the entire co-living portion for yourself and a lot of the tools and resources needed to be able to analyze, find and analyze those deals. So you get a big chunk of what's in super investors. That is $197 a month. You could sign up for that. It's the whole point is to make it as accessible as possible to the vast majority of you guys. If that's too much for you to spend right now, I got it. Don't do that. The whole point is that you're not paying $5,000, $10,000, up to $50,000 is what some of these freaking gurus, I don't know what to call them, are charging for co-living education. Well, I took what's in my higher ticket community and give it at a much lower cost and give you access to my team and similar live calls to them to be able to get your questions answered and all that other stuff at a really low cost to make it way more accessible for you guys and while providing you massive value. If you can't afford that, I got it, right? Totally understand. If you can, great. It'll help accelerate your journey, whether you're a buyer, a bird dog or wholesaler, or a capital partner. It'll put you in a much better position to be able to execute on co-living with less things, with less risk and faster path to results. It's literally there for you step by step. You will literally have no question or ambiguity on what you should be doing. Is this you have everything there for you and you have extra questions. That's why there's multiple live weekly support calls for deal analysis, operations, project management, so you can get those questions answered. Literally give you access to my team. And that's a benefit of super investors and us deciding to give you guys a lot of access to that information. Okay. Yeah. So it's that's completely separate from sub 2. I'm a leader in sub 2. I credit a lot of, information and stuff I've learned through sub 2, and especially Pace, my mentor, specifically Pace more in the education and all that in sub 2. It's more the community in sub 2 and the people in sub 2, as well as Pace, my mentor. Massive benefits of sub 2 for me. This is completely separate. What I do have in sub 2 is a introductory capital raising semester in there, but that, so that's free for those of you guys in sub 2. Obviously it's not free. You got to pay a bunch of money to join sub 2, but I done a training in there in regards to capital raising, but that's really what Super Investors Mastermind community is for. It's basically a plug and play buy and hold business in a box for people who have real estate experience or have a decent amount of savings. You can literally plug and play the 3 core systems, my Super Investor operating system, which is made up of a deal system, how to consistently find great deals and just, acquire on them, just, find them, analyze them, choose what you're going to buy. The capital raising system, how can you fund those deals, raising money, right? Raise the money to fund those deals to have your financial freedom portfolio and then some, and the overall business and operations system. That's what Super Investors Mastermind community is for. That is more expensive, and that's intentionally so because I'm teaching how to raise money. I think there needs to be a standard, a minimum threshold that is met to develop that skill set and then to be able to execute on that, because you're putting people at a lot of risk if your own financial resources are not set. So if you're not in that position, fine. I give you all the free stuff to make active income, to build your savings and your experience to get to that position. If you want to take it to the next level, right, compared to the free stuff, you do the co-living community at $197 a month. That's too much. I got it. Build active income and skills through the free stuff. Co-living to make it way better. And then when you're at a position in which you're ready to buy deals or more deals or put your money to work as effectively as possible, that's what Super Investors Mastermind community is for. There's a literal roadmap for you guys. That's why it's the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap, is to guide you to that overall point, because most of you guys want to be financially free. You want to have multiple properties that generate you cash flow that cover all your expenses. Well, that only comes from ownership, but you can't just go straight to ownership without developing either the skills or the savings to minimize your risk and accelerate your results as an owner. Vic said, sorry, this how much does the market location matter? For co-living, market and location is like fundamental. It's like one of the most important things. It matters massively because you should not be providing co-living to where there's no demand for it. And if you want, on top of that, if you find a market that is great for co-living, but there's 5 different markets, you want to choose the market that not only is great for co-living and the best for co-living, but also has the best overall economic indicators. Where do you see the most job growth? Where do you see property prices increasing? Where are salaries increasing? Because you want both to generate a bunch of cash flow and have low vacancy, because there's a lot of demand for co-living, right? So you're generating more money, you're wasting less on vacant properties, so your properties are filled, and your properties are appreciating way faster. So it's fundamental. It's the most important foundational step. You'll hear me say lots of things are very important, but this is key. It is very important. Let's see. Is this based on shared room or single room occupancy? I don't do shared room, only single room occupancy. So we share the house, but I don't, each room is their own room with an individual occupant. I don't go further than that. I don't put multiple people in a room for liability's sake, for management and operational sake. It's just way easier and better, and you could even say safer, to not put multiple people in a room. People have their own locks, privacy, like all that stuff. If you wanted to do the shared room, you're talking about an even different demographic. People are either trying to save even more money or have less money that they can spend. That's not really who I'm catering to. I'm typically catering to those that are making $15 to $30-ish a month, or $15 to $30 an hour, right? That's a lot of workers are making $15 to $30 an hour. Like the median income in our country is like $60-ish thousand. So half the people are making less than $60,000, which is $30 an hour. So half the country falls into this bucket, but I'm really catering to those that are making around $15 to $30 an hour, who don't want to stretch themselves financially to be able to live in a single family home or a 1-bedroom and they want to save money, have privacy, have a good quality of life, and they make a certain amount of income to also be able to live and afford that type of room, right? I'm not doing like $300 a month rooms, right? We're talking about $800 to $1,200 a month rooms, right? So you need to have a certain level of income for that. It makes it way easier operationally. And for me, a big part of scaling to be able to buy more properties is to minimize your operations, like to not have to go to have easily repeatable systems in regards to operations. So you could just focus on buying more great deals, not spending extra time and energy on the operations of managing like multiple people in one room. That could lead to a lot more work. Yeah, I can make a few $100s more cash flow. Or I'd rather go buy 3 more properties that generate me $1,000 of cash flow instead of trying to save or make $300 more on that one property, if that makes sense to you. Same reason why I don't manage my own properties. It's not a good use of money. It's not a good use of time for the amount of money that would be saving. The one caveat is I do rent some of my profits to nonprofits who then like they pay me on a master lease. They're just my tenant, my one tenant, and they put multiple people in a room, but I'm not dealing with any of that. I'm just renting it to the nonprofit who then does that with their rooms. That's not part of my operations. Okay, yep, perfect. Jeffrey said it. It matters. The market matters because if you're doing co-living, you want a city area with a big population, demand for housing, easier to fill rooms in the big city than middle of nowhere. Absolutely. But on top of that, you also want them in better areas that also appreciate a lot more in value. So it's both the co-living side of things to increase your cash flow because you have more demand, less vacancy, but also because you're buying bigger, better properties in better markets, you're also getting more wealth benefits. They appreciate more because the properties are worth more. You're also getting better tax benefits. Your tenants are paying down your debts. They're paying larger amounts of debts. It's a combination of those two things for you. How much median income matters. I grew up with immigrants. Co-living was standard, but not systematized like pad split, which seems to market to higher income. It really depends on the type of tenants that you're trying to cater towards, Vic. Hopefully I provided that explanation as much as possible who I'm primarily catering towards. It's a different audience, a different tenant base entirely. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for decent income earners, right? And I'm not talking about 6 figures, right? I think 19% of our country makes over $100,000 a year. So, 80% make less than that. I'm talking about the vast majority that make between $15 to $30 an hour in major markets that are priced out of housing and that either have to spend 50% or more on a 1-bedroom of their income on a 1-bedroom, or there are other options to live in the streets. I'm catering to those guys. So they're not stretching themselves so financially, or they cannot afford to live anywhere. I'm catering to those guys as much as possible because A, it's the right investment decision for me. It's much more scalable. It's a solid demographic of tenants to cater towards, especially with the types of properties that I'm providing, which is why I can garner the rents that we can, because we're buying better properties, we're furnishing them better, we're renovating them nicely. All of that allows me to provide them a high quality product that they can justify spending the amount that they spend, $800 to $1,200 a month, as opposed to spending $1,500, $2,000 plus for a 1-bedroom, right? They're saving money, they're getting high quality housing, they're getting their privacy. It's a good combination of the two. Okay, cool. What can you tell us about the SoCal market? Lily, so it just depends on what that question is. There's a lot to say. I will say in Southern California, I own properties in my portfolio in California. The vast majority of you should not own properties in California. Why? Because they cost more money typically to buy. The monthly mortgage payments are much higher. So your risk is inherently higher and you have to put more money in just to buy a deal. Plus, properties in California tend to not cash flow nearly as much, if at all, compared to my core markets, Atlanta, Charlotte, multiple markets in Tennessee, Florida, Texas. Those markets tend to cash flow much more, and I could buy properties instead of spending $1 million plus. I can spend $300,000 to $600,000 on properties that generate me thousands of dollars of cash flow, where that's not really as possible in San Diego or Southern California. The benefit of Southern California is there is a huge demand for affordable housing. There's also more risk because of the laws and all that other stuff. But the big benefit, although it's more risk and less cash flow, the big benefit of California is I get massive wealth benefits. I save a ton of money on taxes on a $2 million property like the one we own, a $1 million property, $1.5 million properties. Those save me a ton of money on taxes. I get to keep all of my money. I don't pay taxes as a result of the properties that I own. On top of that, there's certain rules and laws like Prop 13 in California, which means my property taxes do not constantly increase in value, like all the time based on the new value of the property. Where a lot of markets, literally every year, they're charging you more and more for property taxes because they're saying the property is worth more every single year. Talking to you, Texas. And Texas charges a huge percentage of the property value as a property tax. So as an investor, it's great for the long-term benefit of the property because my properties are appreciating massively in value. Some of the bigger expenses like property taxes are not increasing massively. So that is giving me better cash flow over a long period of time because the properties are worth more. I'm also getting better debt pay down, right? Just bigger debt is getting paid down and I'm getting more tax benefits. So California is great when you have a portfolio that's already made you financially free, in my opinion, right? And you want to get a lot more wealth and tax benefits and are willing to take longer to generate cash flow as opposed to markets that you can kind of get mostly all of it all at once. Way higher cash flow, medium tax benefits, medium wealth benefits, but way higher cash flow. That's more important for you guys, I would assume, who are focused on financial freedom. You need more cash flow to be financially free, not more wealth benefits. The wealth benefits are a second consideration for you after you're financially free, or if you have a bunch of money already, right? For the vast majority of you guys, you need to get as much cash flow as you can while also getting really solid medium tier wealth building tax benefit areas. That's why I don't buy $50,000, $100,000 properties in Milwaukee or I don't know, wherever, because yeah, maybe I'll get close to the same cash flow, but then I'm getting way worse wealth benefits, way worse tax benefits than if I just buy in a market like Atlanta and Charlotte and Dallas. I'm getting basically the best of both worlds. I'm getting really high cash flow, really high cash on cash returns. There's a lot of great investments there. There's a lot of demand for co-living. They really need it. They really need this type of affordable housing. And I'm getting solid wealth benefits and solid tax benefits. Maybe not as high as Southern California, but it's a way better overall. Even now for me, I'm buying one California deal for every 10 plus in one of my core markets that I just mentioned, right? It's part of the equation, part of my overall asset allocation, part of my overall portfolio. It's not the priority. For the vast majority of people, that's the last thing you should worry about. You should worry about financial freedom. Life is a lot more chill and cool and less stressful when you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay your bills. Like, I can comfortably go take walks anytime with my family. We can take any day off anytime and travel and do whatever we want anytime because I don't have to worry about where my money's coming from. I don't have to ask a boss. I don't have to ask anyone for freaking permission. Which is huge for me. This is huge for me because I get to spend my time however I want. That comes from cash flow that generates you enough money to be financially free. I don't care about buying watches and cars and that kind of stuff. I have decent things, but I don't really care about that stuff. I care about my time and being able to do whatever I want with it. That comes from financial freedom. Not the wealth benefits, which are great, but that takes a lot longer to benefit from as opposed to the cash flow, which makes you financially free. That should be your priority. All right, let's see. Any final Instagram ones? Okay, Lily asked, yep, the SoCal, got you. All right, cool, guys. I appreciate you guys. Once again, I will drop the link for the challenge. If you want to sign up, free 3-day challenge, free tools and resources, all there for you. Here you go. I'll share it one last time. Take advantage of this stuff. If you're not in my free real estate freedom roadmap community, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. You're making it harder to invest in real estate because you don't have all the free tools, education, resources that are there. If you're trying to do co-living investing, you want to learn more about it. You want to take it to the next level, wherever you're at in your journey, you own properties and you're trying to consider should you convert to co-living. You're not taking advantage of the co-living community and the extreme value, especially at the low cost, like relatively low cost. I'm not saying it's $2 a month, right? But compared to the $5,000, $10,000+ people are charging for education, especially similar, if not worse education, this is it's not even comparable how much more value you get through here. If you're not taking advantage of that, that's ultimately on you, right? And if you're someone who has solid income or solid real estate investing experience, or solid income and savings, and or solid real estate experience, maybe we talk about my super investor community. Doesn't really, it's not for the majority of people. It's for you who's trying to learn how to buy more deals, better deals, more consistently build that system, raise money to buy all those deals so you're not using only your own money, and the overall business operations that's needed to buy not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, 10 plus properties, so you can generate $10,000+ a month, generate hundreds of thousands of dollars of wealth a year, and over a 10-year cycle, that's how you become a massive multimillionaire. That's how you do it, and you become financially free early on in that journey. All right, y'all. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Have a phenomenal rest of your week. I'll see you guys next week as well as in the CoLiving Challenge. Bye, y'all.